Hello, everybody, and welcome back to your favorite long lost comedy book club podcast, That Pretentious Book Club. Woo woo woo! That is the second time I have done this in the last 15 minutes, and we will explain that more. But if you guys are new here, or if you are one of the wonderful, dedicated, loyal readers who have stayed this far and waited for us to reappear despite our unannounced hiatus, welcome back. I'm Ash O'Rourke, aka Wheezy. You're at That Pretentious Book Club, the most pretentious book club of all the book clubs. We always stay on topic and we never get distracted, and we don't spend half the episode talking about nothing that has to do with the books. Why would we do that? But I have a very, very special surprise for you guys for the future of That Pretentious Book Club. You might notice if you're watching this on YouTube, and that's right, we're on YouTube, is that there's an unfamiliar face to you guys over there on the other side. That is Myrissa Yokie, but aka Gino. Welcome, Myrissa.
Hello, everybody.
I love the tradition of my co-host just randomly breaking into a Cockney accent.
No, that's definitely my actual accent. I do the
Yeah, no,
American as a just as a joke.
just as
you
a
know?
joke. That makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense because Americans are jokes, you know. Just kidding. We love America, don't we? Anyways, don't worry. Kendall Shaw, aka Dr. Spins Palermo, is still part of the podcast. She is still with us, but due to just us all having adult lives, and being human beings, the weekly schedule of reading a whole book a week and recording is just not doable for all of us. Even bi-weekly is kind of pushing it. So we now have a third co-host, which is amazing. And we can all just kind of bounce around and do whatever we want. And although her face might not be recognizable to you yet, although I know that you're all stunned by its glory, that is Myrissa, as in the mermaid Myrissa, who you guys have probably heard about in previous episodes. And if you guys also listen to our sister podcast, the Scripturient Society, you've also definitely heard about her. But yeah, so we're super psyched to have Gino here. I also love that somehow we kind of randomly ended up with like Wheezy, Gino, Dr. Spoons Palermo, which is very like Spoons, Gino, Wheezy. I feel like we're all very Newsies cast right now, which
Oh gosh.
was not intentional whatsoever. Yeah. But let me see if there's any other exciting updates for you guys that I need to give you before we get started. This episode's going to be about Chaos and Flame by Tessa Gratton and Justina Ireland, an amazing last name. And for anyone who's wondering, who's watching this on YouTube, yes, I am wearing a bikini instead of a bra. I know you were all wondering. I am. So
Classic
thank you for
laundry day
noticing.
outfits.
Well, I was like, I'm going to put my kid in his little plastic bathtub on our front porch like the rednecks that we are. Because I don't have a pool or a bathtub, but it's very hot. Anyways, so I think that is really all of like our, business red pen points for the last over a year since we have put
Has
anything
it
out.
been a year?
I think it's been maybe over a year.
Crazy.
It was not intentional, but I had a baby.
You had a
And
baby.
yeah, and he's pretty cute, and I'm definitely gonna make my whole little like Ash's corner about him probably because I usually do. So let's start with you, Gino. Gino, how's your week been? What do you want to say to the
Oh
listeners?
my goodness. Over here it's all bird drama. That's all. I for those of you who don't know me, which is everyone, I have chickens. Ash convinced me to get chickens. And so I got chickens. I was like, these are great. Now I want some ducks. So then I got some ducks. And then some of my chickens disappeared for other creatures' dinners. And so then I was like, I need more chickens. So when I went to get more chickens, my partner was like, hey, we should get turkeys too. And while you're getting turkeys, there's those guinea things, which he apparently thought were quail. And let me tell you, guineas are not quail.
They are not quail at all. And I love them both. But no.
When they got bigger, he was like, what are those ugly things? Those are not what I thought they were going to be.
That's
And I was like,
hilarious.
yeah, I didn't
Those are
think you knew what they were
guineas.
going to be.
My
But
favorites.
two of my little ducklings have one of them I think is blind, so that's a thing. He got this really bad eye infection and now it's just like all filmy. It like the eye infection went away, but I'm pretty sure she's blind. And then two of them have like they have their feet aren't growing right. They're growing in and they can't really walk. So we've been doing like little bird therapy. And it's just a lot taking care of like 8 different kinds of birds, and I have to feed them all different feeds so they get the proper nutrition, and none of them want to eat their own feed. They're all eating everyone else's, so I just have to
Yeah.
stand out there at feed time and be like, no, don't
Yeah.
go away. That's your food.
You were such a good bird mom. I'm like, here, eat these kitchen scraps. Be grateful, you 5 chickens that remained that were not eaten by the bloodthirsty raccoon. Sorry, not eaten, just murdered. Raccoons don't eat them, they just kill for pleasure. So,
Yeah, we had raccoons. We had a fox that was stealing them away.
that's so
But we've
sad.
since, I think, hopefully, knock on wood, fortified everything. Just the issue now is the health of the birds themselves.
I love how I was like, yes, get chickens. Chickens are so easy. Like, just get some chickens, get started. And you were like, okay. And then you were like, how about every species of bird known to
I
man?
know. I know. I literally told my partner today, I was like, that's it. We're just doing chickens and ducks from now on. Once the rest of them are gone, no more. No,
That's it.
just
It's too
chickens and
much.
ducks.
Yep.
They're fairly simple, although ducklings are kind of a nightmare with how messy they are. But
Yeah. They're incredibly messy because they want everything to be mud.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It
Aw.
lets me over here.
Oh, fun. Well, I mean, the bird drama's not exactly fun, but it is funny. So thank you for suffering for our entertainment. Appreciate it. We had bird drama, but now all of the chickens are dead except for 5, so less drama. Um, we had 17 at the beginning of the year. It's June. At the end of June, we have 5 left. So I think the dog got 1 that escaped, and then we had a bloodthirsty raccoon, and then we also had 1 die of, I'm pretty sure, old age, and then I'm pretty sure that our mean rooster killed 2 of them, but then he was taken out by a raccoon. So I was like, all right, we're fine now. So
Yeah, I tried to get my rooster taken out by the raccoon.
I know you're like, oh no, 1 chicken got locked away from the flock. What will we do?
I know, I was like, how did he get locked outside? But everything refused to take him. So we we actually had to kill him because he was
Oh
being
God.
mean to he was hurting the babies and
Right,
also annoying our neighbors to death and
right.
us
Until
to
you
death.
said that you had to like kill the bad rooster, I was like, everything you're saying is reminding me of why, but like a really perhaps undesirable partner on a dating app. Like that's just all I could see. You're like, no one wants to take him. Like he's kind of loud and obnoxious. He's really mean. No one likes him.
How dare you talk about me like that?
I'm not talking about you. What else do you hear about me? How dare you talk about me like that? I was actually talking about her rooster and also Rufio, our old rooster, also qualified, but he was the first one to go. So
You can see him over your shoulder when you move.
look at that. You guys, that's my husband. Where did he go? Come back. I'm like shimmying my shoulder.
The
He's
other
right
way. Go the
here.
other way.
Oh,
Oh,
there he is. Look,
there-
there he is. That's my husband, you guys. Isn't he cute?
Just a little apparition over your shoulder.
The devil on my shoulder, if you will. It is my left shoulder, which I consider like this devil's side, but probably because I'm right-handed. Never thought about that before. Okay, my life update before I just abandoned everybody. Let's see here. I have a baby. He is adorable. He is 8 months old. If you guys follow That Pretentious Book Club on social media, on Instagram, you can see a picture of Riley when that's my son, Riley. Yes, his middle name really is Dragon Slayer. It's not a joke. Hardy har har. It's actually his middle name and it's awesome. And I don't want to hear anything else. I mean, you can say it, but I don't care. I think it's an amazing name. That's why I gave it to him. So yeah, Riley Dragon Slayer. He is 8 months old now, but he's, I think, month old, maybe in the picture, maybe 3 months old. I don't remember, somewhere in there, somewhere he was still, comparatively tiny. He is wearing 18-month-old clothes. He is 8 months old. 18 months is what he's wearing because he is a giant. And if you
He's a
guys
tall
also,
baby.
he is long. He's so skinny, but he is so long. So whenever I carry him around, because I'm like, what, 5'3", and my mother-in-law who's with us right now, she's shorter than me. And so when we carry him around, it's very funny looking because he's just like most of our body. But he also was like, I don't think I'm ever gonna crawl or walk, and then I'll just be carried forever. And he's such a happy, snuggly baby that you want to be like, okay, that feels fair. So we're working on that right now. But he's adorable. Yeah, so life is crazy. I was like, you know what? During my maternity leave, I think I'll just be able to get all this stuff done. But you don't think about is the fact that you feel absolutely horrible all the time because for 10 months you grew a human inside of you and it changed everything about your body forever and also all of the hormones. And so you're just like having such a good time. And I had some complications with the birth too. So it was mostly just recovering and just, getting to know my new little human. And I did not end up doing podcast things. And then Kendall is also quite busy with her life and she has many social engagements and she has a job and the audacity to have a job. I mean, to put the job
Absolutely.
above this podcast that does not pay. I mean, that's the audacity.
Wait, I'm not
Anyways,
getting paid for this.
logs out immediately. Yeah. Nope. Anyways, but I missed the podcast and I know Kendall misses it. And we have tried like 3 times to record something for you guys and it has fallen through every time. But we will. And then Gino came to see me and I was like, Gino, you should move here. And she said, absolutely not. But have you heard of this book or something along these lines? And we started talking about a book. And then I was like, wait a minute, we are so delightful and witty together. Why are we not recording together? Because this kind of solves a lot of problems. Because now we have 3 schedules and it's just like, hey, you available? No. Hey, you available? No. Okay. Well, what are you guys available for each other? Like it gives us more options. So I'm still not promising a set schedule for these episodes. And that is where TPBC is different than it was, where we were doing it weekly and then bi-weekly. It's gonna be what's the word for uh the weekly where it's whenever we have time and want to.
Sporadically.
Sporadically. Yeah, it'll be more sporadic. Listen, I would love to get to the point where I could do this once a week or bi-weekly. That's right now it's a fantasy. But thank you guys for letting me live this delusional fantasy as much as I can. So, is there anything else I need to update anyone on? I'm drinking whiskey and other things out of a teacup, so very on brand for
But
us. Can you
wait,
see my
but
teacup?
wait, but wait.
Oh, Gino, she's using her Texas cup. Was that the one that I got you that you were like, no, I really don't want? And I was like, we're getting
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. One of my favorite things to do is my friends who don't live in Texas just flood them with Texas paraphernalia to slowly indoctrinate them. So one day they're like, you know what? Maybe I should move to Texas. And she's like, that's literally the last place I would ever move to. But I'm like slowly making my progress, I feel like, and it's making me feel better. So, I mean, you got chickens. I don't know that that's a Texas thing specifically, but it feels rural. But you're already rural. You're already like way more farm girl than me. So, we're very rural people here. Um, let's see.
Mine's not by choice, but
No. No, yours is not by choice. Mine is by choice. Um, anything else exciting that you want people to know about you? Or do you want to like shockingly get into the content of the episode at like 13 minutes? That's just crazy.
no, I shall remain a mystery.
She remain a mystery. She did say, what if I just like turned on one of these avatars? Like just like the cat one and just be like a cat for like the whole video and you guys would never know what she looks like.
I was like a radish.
This is my new co-host, Radish. That's funny. Okay, so this book, it is up on the, where is it? There on the green screen if you guys are watching on the YouTube, Chaos and Flame, by Tessa Gratton and Justina Ireland. These say New York Times best-selling authors. I'm not sure what that means anymore because I'm pretty sure that every author is a New York Times best-selling author. And you'll know that's true one day when you see it before my name. You'll be like, yeah, they really will give that to anyone. So this is a young adult, new adult. What would you say?
Young adult, for sure.
Young adult. It's a young adult fantasy novel, and I'm loving the cover. And oh yeah, first impressions. What was your first impression of this book?
Like
Reading it
before I read it, I don't know. I like fantasy books. Those are my favorite books, like high fantasy. And I thought, oh, it has dragons and some sort of bird on the cover.
And you're like, birds.
Fantasy bird. So I was like, it sounds like it has potential, Chaos and Flame. And I do have to tell you, I don't have to tell you, but I will tell you. I got the audiobook first because of my job. I have a lot of time to listen to things, but not as much time to sit down and read things. So I thought, oh, I'll listen to it on audiobook. Plus, it came in first on the library. I ordered both, and that's what came in first. So like, oh, I'll
Nice.
listen to it. And I started listening to it, but immediately could not. And this is nothing against the woman who reads
The voice
the
actor or the
yeah, the
narrator.
voice actor for
Mhm.
because there's two different ones since the story's told from the point of view of a guy and a girl.
Mhm.
The female one, she she narrated another book that I listened to recently,
Mhm.
and it was a very like dark and serious book. So listening to her, like it was about this girl that's essentially groomed and
No.
like
Oh
taken away
God.
from her parents and gets forced to do drugs and all this. Like it's very dark. And then listening to her, like just starting out, hearing her voice, reading this book, I was like, I can't do this because I was having horrible. The other book's good if you like those books, but it was just so dark and emotional. I was like, I wanted something light and cheery, and just hearing her voice, I could
Mm-mm.
not reconcile the two. So I said, well, I guess I'm reading it now.
Yeah. I'm very anti-American when it comes to audiobooks, which I think I've said before, and I have no idea why, but I don't want to listen to an American read to me. I don't. I'm like, stop. I want a British narrator. Don't
I
know.
have always found it easier to listen to British narrators as well. I have always found that. I've gotten a little bit better with some other good narrators that I can listen to with American accents, but yeah, I would 100% prefer British all the time.
Yeah, I've had to settle because I'm poor. Just kidding. But I have had to settle because I'm like, all right, I could spend like 45 bucks on like the like professional nice one or whatever, like when it comes to classics, and it's usually like a British author. I'm like, or I could spend $2 on this little audiobook. And because I like to have the physical copies, I usually will pick whatever is the cheapest version for an audiobook. I have not listened to the audiobook for this whatsoever. I read it all with my eyeballs. And see, my first impression was Chaos and Flame. We are really liking the noun and noun titles for young adult new adult books.
What is it like? Blood and Ash, Chaos and Flame.
Serpent and Dove,
Yeah.
Blood and Bone. I mean, there's like we love noun and noun. So I was like, and I have, to be fair, I non-ironically have enjoyed that up until now. But just because my first impression when I saw it, I was like, another one? Because then I was
Hmm.
like, wait, do I know what this is? Because I'm starting to get all the nouns confused. It's too many. It's too many nouns.
Too many
So
nouns. Use an adjective.
exactly. So while these are both thematically important words, I think I would have titled the book differently just because I'm getting it confused with other books. Not because of the book itself. I'm just getting it confused. Um, Otherwise, I love the like bright red on the cover. It's very eye-catching, and the I think it's supposed to be a phoenix, but you can't really tell. It just looks like a bird.
Yeah, it's definitely, after reading the book, it's definitely supposed to be a
Supposed to be a
phoenix,
phoenix,
but
yeah. But I wouldn't. I also just thought it was a bird. So I mean, I guess that's maybe a note. But the dragon's cool. First impressions, and I didn't know if it was young adult or new adult. I knew it would be fantasy. Um, I had not really heard of this book. I did see that it had two authors, and I was like, this could be a toss-up because sometimes dual authors is awesome, and sometimes the voices don't jive very well for me. So that was my first impression. But my impressions changed, not shockingly. It's like when you actually like get to know something. It's like when you look beyond a book's cover. Shockingly
crazy, crazy
crazy.
concept.
I feel like I've heard that somewhere or something. Like, don't judge a book by its cover. Or maybe I just made it up, you know?
I think yeah, that's the first time I've heard that. It was
Hmm.
probably just you
Yeah.
came up with that.
I'm really, really bright. I also, this is a divergence and I don't care because welcome to the That Pretentious Book Club. I, yesterday I was like, oh my God, Javi, guess what? And he was like, what? And I was like, I just came up with an amazing name for like a little barbecue place because he just got a new grill slash smoker thing. And he's so excited to use it. He's grilling right now, actually. And so I was like, get this, get this. We're going to buy an old like chapel, right, of a church that's not used anymore. And we're going to open up like a little barbecue joint. And it's going to be called, wait for it, Holy Smokes. And I thought, that was really, really clever and amazing. Guess who else thought that? Everyone in the whole world that's ever tried to think of a name, like a business name for a vape shop or a barbecue joint, because both exist already. And then he
I
was like,
hate
yeah,
that.
I made me so mad. And even like apparently that their army chaplain does like this thing where like it's an event where they just all eat barbecue and hang out, and it's also called Holy Smokes. And I was like, well, screw me. I'm not creative at all.
I hate that, but weirdly, what's worse, in my opinion, just because it happens to me more often, is I think of something that I'm like, this obviously exists. Like I can picture something so fully in my mind, whether it's like an outfit, like maybe a design of a dress or something, or this, or I don't know. I think I can see it so fully in my mind that I'm positive I've seen it somewhere, and not just once, but a lot of times.
Yeah.
And then I go to find it and it doesn't exist. I can't find it anywhere. And I'm like, no, I know this thing exists. Like I can see the concept so well. I know I did not just make that up, but I can't get it anywhere, whatever it is, whether it's like a tool or a dress or whatever. And it's so frustrating because I'm like, trust me, it exists. No one has it to give it to me. Nowhere
Just
in
let
the
me
world,
live in
not
my
eBay, not
delusion.
Amazon, not anything. Like it
Oh, that's so
exists.
funny. I think I do have your opposite problem because I got my wisdom teeth out like a month or two ago, which was delightful. You guys can see my husband behind me again. And I remember being quite high in the car on the way back from the anesthesia, obviously. And vividly remember there was only one thing I wanted, but it was just hard. Everyone was like, "What? What are you saying? What?" Because of all the gauze in my mouth. I got all my teeth out at once. They were all impacted. It was very painful and not fun. And I did get dry socket, even though I followed all the rules. So watch out, kids. Even when you follow the doctor's instructions, you can still get screwed. Anyways, so I was in the car and I was like, I need a teddy bear jacket. And he was like, "What?" Because also it's more, it sounds probably more like, oh no, like, and he was like, "What is that?" And I was like, very serious about this too. I was like, "You don't understand. It's the only thing that would soothe my soul is a teddy bear jacket." And then we got back and the medicine's wearing off, and I'm like, "I'm gonna Google it. Teddy bear jackets got to exist." It does. There's a lot of teddy bear jackets. I didn't spend any money on them because the one I wanted was like $45, and I was like, "That's too rich for my blood." But they exist. So I don't know, because here's the thing, because at least you know that you're original. I'm finding out is that like there's nothing new under the sun. I can't come up with an original idea to
So,
save my life.
so is it a jacket for your teddy bear, or is it like a jacket for you with teddy
No,
bears
no,
on it?
no.
What is
Silly
it?
Gino. Why would you think that when I've given you absolutely no description of what I envisioned when I was totally high on anesthesia? No, teddy bear jacket. It's a jacket that I, as an adult woman, would wear for myself, and it's fuzzy and it's brown and it has a hood that pulls
What
up. It's
makes you
also
look
fuzzy
like a teddy
with
bear?
ears. Yeah, a teddy bear jacket. So
Sounds
I don't
comfy
know
though.
why. Doesn't it sound amazing? It was like, this is all that I want. It's the only thing that'll make me happy. Yep. Anyways, that was a divergence. Do we want to learn a little bit about these authors?
Sure.
Do you want to talk about them or do you want me to talk about them?
Um,
I don't care. We can
what?
both talk about them.
Yeah. Why don't you go with since you love her name so much, Justina Ireland?
Okay. Listen, in the true TPBC fashion, because we wanted to just give you guys what you were familiar with, I did absolutely no preparation for this. So I will be reading you things out of the back of the book. And also because I'm very spoiled because Kendall does a lot of research into modern authors. And I'm like, if you didn't die hundreds of years ago, why would I care about your life? Because that makes sense. So Justina Ireland, award-winning New York Times bestselling author of books that include Dread Nation, Deathless Divide, Rust in the Root, and Ophi's Ghosts. I have not read any of these, but I must say I do really like the title Rust in the Root. I like it. It's good. We do have two nouns, but it's not an ampersand in the middle, so I feel like it's original.
That
But
is
then
true.
again, what do I know? I can't think of anything original to save my life. So she also was the author of numerous Star Wars books and was one of the story architects of Star Wars The High Republic. So that's cool. You can find her work wherever great books are sold, and probably also wherever mediocre books are sold. Not that this is mediocre, but I'm just saying there's not bookstores specifically for only good books. And you can find her on Instagram at justina.ireland or her website, justinaireland.com. And there's this cute little picture, and if you guys are on YouTube, I'm going to try and show it to you, of her and the other author. And you can't really see because it's a little bit
That's
blurry, but she
Let
is
me see if mine
beautiful.
comes in better.
Oh, you can
'Cause
kind of see it for a
oh,
second.
oh, you can't even see
I know. She's
that.
pretty though. Not that it matters, not that it has any bearing on whether she's a good writer or not, but she is a good writer, A, and B, she's super, super pretty. So I was kind of like picturing the main character looking a little bit like her before I even flipped to the back and was like, oh my God, that's what she looks like? Why does she look like her character to me? So that was kind of fun.
Yeah, I kind of
Anyways.
had the same thought with
Oh,
the look
see?
of it. Yeah.
That's awesome. Do we know Justina's zodiac sign?
Yes, we do.
By
And
we mean
I'm gonna
Gino, because she looked it
I'm
up
gonna make
and
you
I
guess
didn't.
it again, see if you know.
No.
So her birthday is February 7th. Any ideas?
My brain.
It's also a song.
Capricorn? I
She
don't
is an
know.
Aquarius.
Oh,
Aquarius.
well, I'm dumb. See, I don't know that. I don't know. Is that a pop culture thing? Is this a is it the thing normal people
That's an
know?
old song. This
Oh, I
is
don't know
the
it.
dawn. It's from the 60s. This is the, or maybe the 70s. This is
Oh,
the dawning
wow.
of the age of Aquarius. Age of
So I
Aquarius.
should know it. Oh, wow. Shame on me. I really should know it. That's a bummer. Well, you heard it here, folks. Ash has no idea what's going on anywhere at any given time. All right.
Okay, so the other author is Tessa Gratton. She has novels that, and it says in many places, have been translated into 22 languages.
Ooh la la.
So that
That
seems
was French,
important.
if you guys were wondering.
That's how they were translated into French there. Um, she writes a lot of queer writings for dark queer fairy tales, queer Shakespeare. Um,
Isn't that just
and
Shakespeare? I think Shakespeare would think it's just
that's,
Shakespeare.
that's so true. Um, and she's also writing Star Wars novels coming up.
Oh,
So I wonder if they're
oh,
doing that together.
these cute besties. Oh my God. That's adorable. I mean, I
Um,
bet they are friends because their picture, like their headshot is like them
they're
together,
like,
not
"Yeah,
like
we're
Photoshop.
besties." Yeah.
That's adorable.
And she's lived all over the world, but currently resides in Kansas, of all places.
I didn't know anyone lived in Kansas. Strange.
No, I think it's, I don't remember what state, maybe it was Arkansas that I used to not believe anyone actually lived in. I was like, I've never met a person from Arkansas, like never in my
Yeah.
life. And I
Yeah.
traveled to a lot of places and a lot of
Yeah.
states, and I was like, no one actually lives there.
No, actually, I think my brother's in Kansas right now for like a emergency response thing. Interesting. Hi, Caleb.
And then her birthday is November 8th.
Oh, wait. Do I know? Okay, wait. November 8th. No. No, I don't know anything. It's not a Libra, is it?
No,
Is it
that's
Scorpio?
close though. Yeah, it's Scorpio.
Oh my God, I got one right. It only took 5 years.
Yeah, because Libra comes right before Scorpio.
Yeah, that's how I know. It's just because my husband, my baby, and my cat and my dog are all Libras. So at some point I had to learn that one. Yeah.
That makes sense, actually.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, the
I'm
Libras,
surrounded
yeah.
by Libras, whereas I am a sun sign, Aries, moon sign, Scorpio, like a Scorpio, Tessa Gratton. I forget what's your zodiac again?
Mine is also a Scorpio.
Oh, that's God, I love Scorpios. They're fantastic. All right. Was that's everything you know? Because
That's what we got about the
that's what we
authors.
got with
That was our
about
deep
60 minutes of
research.
prep.
Our deep
Yeah.
research into
Yeah.
the authors.
Yep. But thank you, Tessa and Justina, for creating this lovely work of fiction. Where is it? There. Fine,
Yeah.
if you're on YouTube. Can you guys tell I'm really enjoying this new green screen that I made also while we were literally setting up recording? That's how much work went into this, but I'm very proud. Also, if you guys go to storysirenstudio.com or thatpretentiousbookclub.com, it'll take you to the same place. You will see our new website, which has some more information about the lovely Gino and more pictures. And I updated it all last night and I'm very, very proud. And it looks a little bit less like a 12-year-old made the website now. So, coming up in the world.
More like a 15 or 16-year-old, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's progress. You get it? Okay, so Chaos and Flame. If you guys are new here, first of all, I'm sorry and welcome, and I hope you're not too scared. Close your eyes, it'll be over soon. Just kidding. I mean, I guess
Just
you
kidding,
could.
it won't. It will be a long.
It's not gonna be over soon. No, we are known for taking quite a long time. Okay, so the summary. This is always the hardest part for me is to like re-summarize things. Okay, so we start out. There is a country called Pierlanum.
I'm gonna be so bad at this part
Just
because
say
I'm one of those people that sees like the first and last letter of the made up names and words, and I just go,
uh-huh.
ah, premiere. Like,
Same.
that's what my brain
That's what I
does.
do too. See, yeah. So Pringanum is this country that has I think it's Pirlanum or something like that. Like I know there's a U and an M in there, and I think there's a Y. So I did not listen to the audiobook, so I don't know.
Here,
But I am confident that the two main characters are named Talon and Darling. So I got that.
thank you for the easy names, the easy pronunciation.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah. Basically this country is divided into a bunch of different houses, which are basically like kingdoms, and they're all named for different mythical creatures. But in the lore of each country, they're not mythical. They were like, what do they call them? Imperials or something? Were like
Yes,
the actual. So, like, for example, there was House Sphinx, House Dragon, House
Kraken.
Kraken. What's the one with the B? The burger.
No idea. That's another one that I just make up. And
House Burger. House Burger. That's what I'm gonna call it. So House Burger King. Um, and then I'm listening to House Griffin.
Bargest.
Bargist, yes. House Bargist, that's what it is. And House Cockatrice. Cockatrice? I always thought it was
Hmm.
Cockatrice, but it's spelled Cockatrice, so
I think it's pronounced cockatrice.
Cockatrice. It's cool. So let's just make it that's just make that our truth.
And House Griffin is one of
Yes.
them.
And House Griffin. So these houses have all been at war for various reasons, but most relevant to this story and most recently, House Dragon is kind of like the Fire Nation, right? In Avatar. Like they've been like kind of taken over the other houses for a while. They're like mostly in charge. Their biggest enemy right now is House Kraken. And they've conquered, it seems, I think they've conquered, right? Like House Griffin and Cockatrice, but they're like, they kind of have their own authority underneath House Dragon, but they've been conquered by House Dragon, I'm pretty sure.
It's kind of like House Dragon has the king, and then all the other houses that have been conquered by him have like the lords with their lands that they get to rule
Yes.
over, but they're
Yes.
still under the rule of House
Of the
Dragon.
House Dragon. Yeah, exactly. So, most recently and notably in the war, House Dragon basically wiped out House Sphinx completely, or so they thought. And that takes you to the prologue if anyone's wondering. Some people did escape from House Sphinx, and or maybe just only one person did actually. And she and some of the other, like they called them war orphans, so basically displaced kids from the war, were adopted by what's his name? Leonetti, who is the leader of House Kraken. And they're all like naval war stuff. This is probably where, like, if we were like houses, this is where Myrissa and I would be as mermaids. I feel like we would just kind of automatically get lumped in. And also, they said something about there being like pasta and wine at one of the mansions at House Kraken, and Leonetti. I was
They,
like, so
they
they're Italian.
I didn't pick up on that, but yeah,
So
that tracks.
basically, they're Italian mer people. So I was like, ah, well, them's is my people, unfortunately. I mean, not unfortunately, but I was like, I mean, krakens are all right. It's just like a giant squid, but dragons are better, so are sphinxes. But I'll take it because it's the ocean and Italian food and pasta, I guess. I'll go where the pasta is, sure.
I'll
So
follow the wine.
yeah, I will follow the wine. Really will. Oh God, that's the way to get me to go to a social event. And if anyone's curious, if you're like, Ash doesn't want to go to a social event, and then someone's like, I'm gonna bring some wine, I'll be there. I'll be there for the wine.
Noted.
Yeah.
Noted.
And if you want to put ice cubes in your wine, I'm not gonna judge you. I'm Italian, but I'm not that Italian. Okay, I'll judge you if you put it in the red wine. I'll feel a little judgy. I won't really care, but like I will feel something like kind of like squirm inside of me. Like, ugh. But it's okay, to each their own. Um, wow, I got distracted because I'm still thinking about wine. So, Darlene. Darlene is one of the main characters, and she is the Sphinx who escaped during the war. And she was adopted as a war orphan by Leonetti. So that's kind of her setup. She was living in the sewers for a long time and lost her eyesight. I think they're like implied like as a result of living in the dark, right?
Yeah, that's what it seems.
Right. And then chaos is like it's almost this like personification of this like ethereal like magic that runs through everything and powers everything. And it's kind of like it's like a deity, but it's not sentient, it seems like. But it's weird. They talk about it like, and Chaos gifted her with what she needed or whatever, and it'll like give people different boons, which a boon is like a magical talent, like my talent for comedy. Just kidding. I couldn't
I
even
would
say it.
compare, you were like, I take that back before I finish. I compare it slightly to like if you're a Star Wars fan, kind of like the Force, like
Yeah.
chaos. It's like all
Yes.
around you, but it also like blesses some people and takes things from other people, and it's like kind of a
Yes.
balance of the world a little bit.
That is a absolutely much better way to put it. Yes, chaos is like the force of this world. Um, yeah, and some people have boons, which are like magical gifts. Some boons are really rare and or thought to be sort of extinct. Apparently, there was a time when everyone in Pier had a boon, and it was very common. But now, not everyone has boons, and they're a little bit more special. And like prophecy, like seeing the future, that kind of thing, and I think mind reading are like considered extinct and also considered extremely dangerous. So no one has those, so they say, anymore. And then also you can be granted like extra boons or like magical powers, which Darlene has been. So she can basically see in the dark, but she cannot see very well in bright light. So she wears these smoked glass goggles. So like when you smoke a glass and it turns it dark, you guys, if you've ever, lit a candle and you've let it burn all the way to the bottom and you notice that like some dark kind of look of the glass, the flame does, like that. So like smoked glass goggles so that she can see in the light. Which is very cool, but also for a second I was like, no, don't tell me we're going steampunk because I have very, very, very high standards for steampunk, and I don't know why. But I don't know if it's just like my suspension of disbelief is so much more fragile for steampunk for some reason. I don't know what it is. So I was like, no, 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 no. I'm pleased to say that I didn't find any super notable steampunk elements, so I felt a little bit better about that. I don't know why. That stressed me out really bad. So she's also got these like crazy cool eyes, and spoiler, my favorite quote has to do with like how her eyes look. They describe it like a bunch of different ways. One of the ways they describe it is like the kind of like like the when oil looks like a rainbow kind of like it's
Yeah.
so anyways, so super interesting. And so that's kind of like how we set up her story. And then Talon. Talon is the other character. He is the dude. And I was gonna say he's the hot dude. He is a hot dude. Also hot but insane is his older brother, who is like the crown prince, basically. I forget what they call him, the high prince or
The
something.
Prince Regent,
The
I
prince
believe.
regent. Yeah. Um, which is like as high, which it's like the king basically, because they don't call them because the king, quote unquotes, were the Imperials, which were the actual like the founders basically of each house. The lore is that they all actually turned into the creature that their house represents, and so they were called the Imperials, and they're like the biggest rulers, but they're extinct now. But anyway, so they like use regent instead of king. So High Prince Regent is like he's like the one in charge of House Dragon, which means most of Pyr. And I'm never not gonna laugh when I do that. So thing is, we actually
They
start
start,
out the book with him. Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say they
Legit.
start the book by introducing this, his name is Caspian, but he's
Hmm.
the High Prince Regent. Well, not quite yet at the beginning of the book, but
Yeah.
he's this little boy that paints this girl over and over, but he can't paint her eyes. Like her eyes are always wild. Sometimes her eyes are the night sky with the moon.
Hmm.
Sometimes her eyes are like fire. Sometimes they're exactly as
Just
you
like
described with
black
oil.
holes.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like her eyes are never quite right. And but nobody knows who this girl is, and everyone thinks he's, well, not everyone, because they don't let everyone know, because he's a scion, which I had to look up that word.
Oh
Am I
yeah.
pronouncing it right?
Yeah.
Like a descendant of the royal family, essentially, because again, they don't have like prince and king
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
He's
he's,
royal. He's a
yeah,
scion.
they keep it hush hush because they're like, this is crazy. Like, why is he painting this girl over and over and over
Yeah.
in every single way possible? And we don't even
Yeah.
know who this girl is.
Yeah. And he has a prophecy boon, which is like quite dangerous, and no one wants to know that he has it. So they basically convince him to tell his prophecies to his aunt, and they call her the dragon seer. And apparently seers are okay, but prophets aren't. So I wasn't sure about. I was like, I'm very confused by this, but apparently it's okay. So reverse sexism, I don't know. And if you're wondering, does Caspian's hair look like Prince Caspian's hair from the Narnia movie? The answer is yes, it does. It does. And that's how it's described. So I'm going to say yes. So that's how I pictured it the whole time.
That is pretty
However,
true.
yeah. However, he's far less lucid than our Prince Caspian and not as reliable. So he has grown up by the time like this main story starts, and he's in charge, and his younger brother they call the War Prince, and he is far more sane than his brother. He has a boon, like a tracking boon, which reminded me a little bit of Shadow and Bone, how Mal has a tracking gift or whatever, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll take it because it comes into the story very, very little. Um, and I'm just hoping that it doesn't turn into something like more potent in the next book, because then I'm gonna feel like it's too close to Shadow and Bone. But as long as it remains kind of like an afterthought and not like a big part of his character, I don't care. He's got a little tracking boon. Cute. Good for him. Um, so his name's Talon, and Talon has grown up trying to basically make people like and support his brother, even though his brother's like doing crazy shit and basically making enemies of all the other scions and like royalties like all the time. Um, so um you have to put a note whenever I do this nonsense where I'm like, what if
Pause
I just
thinking.
like think for a second? I also hear like chaos happening outside and I'm like, everything's okay, right? Guess I'll find out when I'm done recording.
As long as there's no flame, just chaos.
Yeah, just chaos. Exactly. And they're grilling, so it really might be both. I don't know. Okay, so the crux of the story that this takes place in this book starts when Darlene and her sort of crew, because they basically the war orphans are sort of turned into Leonetti's personal assassins. They've been sent to attack something. I forget what their original
Well,
plan
they're
was.
actually trying to get Leonetti back because he's been taken by
Yes.
the dragon house.
Yes.
And so they think they know where he is, and they're
Right.
essentially planning this SEAL secret mission to break in and steal him back.
Yeah. However, when they get there, that is not quite what happens. Her buddy Gavin, he sneaks away. I guess his boon is invisibility. I think it's implied. And then I
Yeah.
forget that what the other person does. It's not relevant. And
They're
she's
wait
not
it's just
there.
her and him because the other two stay like waiting by the boat or something.
Yeah, yeah.
So Gavin goes in and he cuts off the lights because she doesn't
Can see in
need
the
light to
dark.
see. She sees better in the dark.
Yeah,
And she goes in to kill all of these high-ranking officers and stuff in this room and then find Leonetti.
yeah.
But
She accomplishes the first part pretty well. And then they turn on the lights and she's momentarily blinded. And then Talon very briefly gets the upper hand. And then he definitely loses the upper hand. But it just so happens that his like best army buddy guard guy named Finn, who is kind of an ass, his boon is making people go to sleep. And so she's already taken him out. But then I guess he reaches out and like touches her and makes her fall asleep in the middle of the fight, which I'm like, it's not fighting fair, but whatever, I guess. Whatever, I guess. If you don't want to die, fine. So instead of just killing her, like all the guards are like, dude, she killed like a bunch of our friends just now. Can we just kill her? Caspian had sent word through his aunt that they cannot kill the girl, that they need to bring Darlene back to, they're staying at House Sphinx, I think. But House Dragon's headquarters, which are seem to currently be at House Sphinx for some reason. So brings her back there. Caspian's like, well, hello. I've been waiting for you literally my entire life. And Talon's like, I should hate this girl, but I think I'm attracted to her. You know, that kind of thing, which we love.
can I just say I love Caspian's first like adult introduction because like we saw him as a little kid like painting things and everything. But then and they also mentioned in that prelude sort of there with him painting everything that he actually sees his mother's death.
Yes.
But because she hated his gift so much and was like, don't ever paint things, that he doesn't tell her about it because he doesn't really
Mm-hmm.
realize what his gift is. And then she dies, and then he feels horrible about
Yes.
it for like
Yeah.
ever. But I
Yeah.
love his adult introduction because he just comes into the room like he's in like like a silk robe that's like half open with like no
Oh
shoes on or
yeah.
socks and
Oh my
like
God.
pants, and he's supposed to be like this high regent princely person, and he's a nutter. and I love it. Like,
He is
he's like,
absolutely.
hey.
Yeah, and she sees like a bunch of paintings on the wall of her, and she's like, what? I'm sorry, what? And Caspian's like, no biggie. So I'm glad you're here. So here's the dealio. You're the last descendant of House Sphinx, which means that you're the scion of House Sphinx, and basically you're the new ruler of House Sphinx, and we're reinstating it. And what can I do to make reparations since my father, you destroyed your whole kingdom? And she's like, what? And Talon's like, what? I'm sorry, what is your plan? And it's very clear that Caspian seems to have like a plan. There's some logic behind all this, but he tells literally nobody anything. And so,
And he acts absolutely nuts all the time. So no one ever knows when he's like being serious and
lucid,
plotting and lucid
yeah,
and when he's just being nuts. And
just being
also,
crazy.
the whole reason that the war got started this time was because Caspian's mom was killed and they found out it was from House Sphinx, like that
Yeah.
they had killed her. So then they started this war with everyone.
Yep.
And that's why this war has been going on. His father started the war, and now he's like, nope, I want it over.
Yep. Yep. Which is it's just crazy. And the other scions of House Dragon also think that it's crazy and they don't love it. But basically, before they can protest, Caspian's like, cool. And to celebrate, we're going to go off on this like inaugural tour around the country and we're going to show off our new little trinket here, Darling. And he renames her Marybelle Calamus, which is, I guess he thinks is more Sphinx like than Darling. And they go off and he's going to introduce her to all these other houses. And everyone's like, did that really just happen? But also, I should have said this first. He cancels the war. He's like, the war is over. I declare this war over. And everyone's like, what?
It's just like, thank you. Now I'm gonna have dinner in my rooms. Goodbye. Like
Yep. Goodbye, and we shall
this
leave
war that's been
tomorrow.
going on for at least 10 years or something. He's just like,
Yeah.
by the way, I'm done with this. I'm
He just
bored
like
now.
walks in shirtless with no shoes on, and he's like, no shirt, no shoes, no war. Let's go.
No shirt, no shoes, no war.
Woo woo. Yeah, so that's strange, and that's what happens. And so then Talon and Darling, basically Darling gets like refitted, right? And like all of these dresses, and she's like, I hate these dresses. And I'm like, shut up, it's a bunch of beautiful dresses. Like every time in any young adult book ever that the teenage heroine is like, I don't want to wear this beautiful dress. And I'm like, you don't understand what you've been given, that kind of thing. So however, they do sort of modify it in a fun way where she's like, I can't fight in this. And being able to fight is a huge part of her personality and her skill set that like Leonetti basically like helped train her into becoming one of his best assassins. So it is very important to who she is to be able to fight. And so she basically talks to their designer and gets these like really cool dresses made that have like slits where she can like kick her legs out and they've got like weights in the bottom of the skirts to keep them in place. It's very cool. I could so clearly see what this would look like and I loved it. But still a bunch of like really fancy dresses. So she gets outfitted and all that stuff. She complains. She and Talon have a little sparring match before they go off to traipse around the country. And it's very cute and it's very heated. And I would definitely call it. There's some baby spice. There's some baby spice in this book. And that is, if you're new here, that is not to say spice for babies. That is to say baby spice is in a spicy book, but not really spicy, but we're getting there. Also named for Baby Spice of the Spice Girls. So
I was gonna say definitely the Spice Girls.
definitely the Spice Girls, but if you guys are too young for that, we might
Oh
have
no.
some of y'all that are too young for Spice Girls. First of all, you guys should go give them a listen if you haven't already. And Baby Spice, that's where we get it from. But I would qualify this book as Baby Spice. And the sparring match was great because first of all, it was an excellent fight. But then second of all, you could see like all this like heat and tension between the two, and you were like, oh, you guys so like each other, like so much. It was very cute. And also they're both really good fighters, so that was fun. I also think the fight scenes were pretty well written in this, and I sometimes have a lot of critique for that. So
And they go to the ball together too, or they dance together
oh,
at the ball
that's
because
right.
Caspian's like, we're having a giant ball to celebrate the end of the war and the introduction of the Sphinx Scion. And
That's
then
right. Yeah.
she comes there and Caspian's like, you're gonna dance with me. And she's like, I've literally never danced in my life. And he
Yep.
just is like being ridiculous and she feels really
Wildly embarrassing
embarrassed.
her. Yeah.
Yeah, so Talon comes in and he's like, here, he doesn't understand. I'll show you how to dance.
Yep. And Talon is like a weirdly good dancer, so that was pretty adorable. He's also stunned by her beauty, so that's great. That happens a few times in the book. I love a good stunned by her beauty moment. Also, something else important happens during. Oh yes, quite important. So Gavin, her assassin buddy,
Oh
has
yeah.
snuck into the palace, and he's like, "Hey, so now that you're in this great position here, none of us really understand what's happening, but yeah, the war is actually, I've been out there verifying, yeah, the war is like over, so that's cool. But also we still want to kill the princes. So here is this magical poisonous lipstick, basically, and you need to put this on and kiss the princes, and it'll kill them. And so she does wear it to the ball, and there's a moment at the end of when she's dancing with Talon where she wants to kiss him. And he's obviously about to kiss her. And then she just bails on it because she's wearing the poison lipstick and she doesn't want to kill him. Although she's like, I don't know why I don't want to kill him. I've killed so many people. And I'm like, shh, we don't talk about that. It's okay, darling.
I hate that this lipstick, you like, how do you wear it and it doesn't kill you, but you kiss
Yep.
someone and it works? Like, I was
Yep.
like,
Thought about that.
no, no,
Thought about
that
that.
doesn't, this
That
doesn't track.
also gave me a Shadow and Bone flashback because spoilers for Shadow and Bone. The so Genya in that is like the sort of like one of the favorites of the king or whatever, and he's not great. He's very, very creepy and he's bad to her in a lot of ways. But basically, he dies, and they're like, well, we don't know how he's been poisoned, but like just little by little over time. And then Jenna explains that she put poison on her lips and on her body so that every time he kissed her, he would slowly poison himself more and more. But she was also poisoning herself, but she was just healing herself. But I liked that because there was like a logic to how she's not dead. But I also do kind of like the concept of like poisoning someone, but you're also poisoning yourself, and you're just like, listen, I'm going down, but you're going with me. I think that's interesting. This is not either of those explanations. There's very little explanation. I was just like, is this gonna be like gonna cause unnecessary complications? It didn't really. It could have like,
No.
I mean, it could have just like not been in the book probably, and it wouldn't have been that different. But they do use it as a plot device later. Like I didn't dislike it. I just like didn't think it added that much.
I
Um,
actually, towards the end, was like, was that even relevant? And then at the very end, it
at
does
the
kind
very
of come in
end,
a little bit. But
yeah,
like, I literally probably 2 or 3 chapters before that, I was like, why did they even have that in here? Like, it doesn't,
yeah.
it's irrelevant, absolutely. And then it
Yeah,
did
and then
tie in
even
a
when
little
there's the
bit.
discovery about it, I'm like, how? How did you know that that was
Yeah, how
anything
did you know
gruesome?
that this is
Did you put
this
it
is
on and kiss
poison
someone?
lipstick?
Like, I'm confused. Were you playing dress up with her stuff and you accidentally killed someone? Very confusing. So I guess craft wise, there's a little bit of critique there. But so that was a little bit stressful because I was like, oh no, she's gonna ruin everything, which was also, I'm sure, the point of introducing the pot of poison lipstick. So
I was wondering if we were gonna have kind of like a weird triangle thing going on with the two brothers and her for a little bit.
yes,
Like there was some weird vibes of like, what's going on?
I was getting stressed because I'm okay with certain love triangles in books. And sometimes I'm like, okay, this is kind of fun. This is interesting. It's intriguing. And the characters are of Caspian and Talon are different enough that I was like, okay, this is not like a just choosing one or two of the exact same person thing. So I guess that's okay. But they're brothers. And I do not like that at all. So I was like, oh, let's not do a love triangle, please. And spoiler, I guess, which is literally only the only thing that pretentious book club does. So then they're in the carriage. It's like the first day or something. They're on their journey. She is riding in Caspian's carriage with him, and he introduces her to fizzy wine, which is delightful. And she drinks too much of it because she's not really Italian, and she gets drunk, and they end up kissing. Talon at this point knows that he's head over heels for her. Ever since they sparred, he's been like obsessed. Really, ever since he saw her eyes for the first time and like fought with her. And so he opens the carriage door, sees them kissing, and he's like, "No, not my brother," and slams the door or whatever. So that happens. They meet, they meet their cousin. So, and if she, I don't know if she's actually their cousin or they just call her their cousin because also
I don't
Caspian
think
flirts
she's
with her a lot.
I was gonna say I don't think she's actually their cousin. They're just
Yeah.
like cousins kind of.
Oh no, cousin lovers. Oh God, it's been so long. I forgot about that problem we have in some fiction. Oh God, no. No, it's just the whisper of cousin lovers. They're not actually cousins. Just a whisper of desire there,
This
which
is
is a quote from Schitt's Creek.
House Griffin, right?
Yes, House Griffin. Where what's her name? Starts with a V, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does start with a V.
She's
Mhm.
badass. She's so cool. She is like the ruler of the house or whatever. They've got a bunch of like preserved like historical artifacts, including some from House Sphinx. And basically, while they're there, Caspian's like, for reparations, I command you to give uh Darling this knife. It was some knife that was significant to House Sphinx that they had collected.
It was
And
literally like a talon from the Sphinx or a
oh
claw
yeah,
from the Sphinx.
yeah, like a claw from the Sphinx. And she says no, and then Caspian throws a fit and gets his way. It's very dramatic. Um, so they get that there, and then they move on and they go to House Cockatrice next. House Cockatrice, is that next?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. And House Cockatrice was actually their mother's house. Their mother married into House Dragon. So House Cockatrice is basically non-existent now. Sorry if you guys can hear my dog. I'm sure you can. That's Ruby. She's grown up. She's still loud. Nothing has changed. Interesting. Okay, sorry. I think my husband's bragging to all of our siblings and step siblings about the fact that he's grilling. It's his favorite thing to do. Okay. And so House Cockatrice now is basically like, I kind of pictured it like a monastery because they said like only people who are left are they're basically like almost just like religious, type people who are just preserving the history of House Cockatrice, but no one, it's more like a museum. Like no
Yeah,
one
they
really,
they actually call
yeah,
it a museum at one point. Gavin comes to warn Darling
yeah,
about going there, and he's like, there aren't even people there. It's a museum.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, and they get waylaid on the way, I forgot, and they get attacked by wild drakes, which are like bird dragons. Um, and it's very cool. And also, Kitty is what Darling names Talon's war drake that he rides, and I loved it. And I really, really want a drake, like a war drake, specifically for myself now. You should also, as a bird person, you can add that to your list.
I told you nothing more than chickens and ducks. It sounds like a wardrobe would be a way more handful.
But a Wardrake could take care of all the others in like a snap. It would just be a Wardrake.
Wouldn't have
Yeah.
any fox issues anymore.
You would not, you might also not have any people issues anymore. Have any issues anymore. Wardrakes are notoriously violent like dragon bird things, but House Dragon has trained some to be like their royal mounts, their steeds or whatever. And so Darling named one Kitty, which I adore because I love ironic names. I once had a fish that I named Fluffy. Like this is my kind of name. I was very, very pleased. And later they name another one of the Wardrakes Bluebird, which is very cute. To me it was a little too on point. I was like, oh, should I name it like Fluffy or something? Like I did, like I don't know, like not Bluebird. It is like kind of birdish. So to me it was too on the nose, but funny. So like hamster or something. See, my brain is just gonna like be like, what's a better name?
Hamster.
Or drake. Chicken. I don't know. No, see, that's another bird. See, I can't. I'm gonna have to think about this a lot. I'll let you guys know next episode what I've come up with. So that Darlene saves his life. Like he saves her life in this fight with these wild drakes that attack them. They bond ever closer. They're basically now openly in love with each other. Like they think they're kind of being like sly about it. They're not. It's very obvious they're in love with each other. They have not yet kissed, but they spend as much time together as they can, and it's very, very cute. And yeah, Caspian's getting weirder. Basically, that could just be a summary for almost the rest of the book is that Caspian gets weirder. So they get to House Cock.
Oh,
What?
but right after they get attacked, because Darling and Talon are fighting like back to back, side by side
Mm-hmm.
to get all the drakes away. And like two of the soldiers die and some of their mounts and stuff are injured. And when everyone's being taken care of, Caspian comes up to Talon and is like, oh, like I'm so happy you're alive or whatever, and hugs him, which is really out of character for Caspian,
Yeah.
like physical touch. and he slips Talon a piece of paper and then leaves. And when Talon looks at it later, it's a charcoal drawing of the exact scene that just happened of him and
Yep.
Darling like fighting the Drakes. Like he had
Yep.
obviously drawn this before it happened. And
Yeah.
Talon doesn't really know that his brother has a prophecy boon.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody really knows.
No.
They guess at it a lot, sort of
Yeah.
thing. They're like,
Darlene
is he
figures it
just
out
crazy? Or
first. Darlene's
yeah.
immediately like, it's a prophecy boon. And everyone's like, that's not what she's like, it's a prophecy boon. And then Talon's like, is it a prophecy? I'm gonna think about it some more. But we're all like, it's a prophecy boon.
Everyone he's made it so that the kingdom thinks he just has a painting boon. Like he just paints a lot
Yeah.
really well, which is ridiculous. Like
It's so stupid. And their aunt, the dragon seer, is also, she's just using this to be like more important. Also, kind of weird is that she has a very, very close relationship with Talon and Caspian. She's like the only mother figure in their lives, so Talon trusts her implicitly. However, she's already been quite weird to Darling, and Darling already doesn't trust her. She's like, you cannot trust this woman, I can tell. And Talon's like, that's my aunt. We love her so much. She's totally great. So that's kind of where they're at with her. So they get to House Cockatrice. They go on a tour. They are looking at this old, isn't it like a chapel or something? I don't know. There's
yeah,
like,
it is a chapel.
yeah, and there's like representations of all of the different imperials. So like a sphinx, a dragon, whatever whatever a Burger King is, and then Burgist. Is that what it is?
I
I
don't
don't know.
remember. But yeah, I didn't know what that was either. Like, okay. But at the very end, they start like, I think it might be in this scene where they're like, a dog for this, like a griffin for the, and
Ah,
I was
that's
like,
right. It's like a
oh,
dog
that's a
thing.
dog.
Gotcha. So the dog, and like there's is it the I think it's the is it the cockatrice that has like the jewel? One of the things has a jewel for an eye.
The cockatrice, yes,
Is the
because that's
cockatrice.
when later a little bit later, Caspian has her climb up and get the
Yeah.
jewel out of the eye.
Yeah, exactly. And it's this is where they learn about the basically like the origin lore um for House Sphinx, for the Sphinx Imperial, which is that the woman who became the first Imperial, first Sphinx, no, not Sphinx, Griffin? No, Sphinx?
Sphinx, yes, Sphinx.
Sphinx. Yeah, Sphinx
Because it's
was
Sphinx that rise from the ashes.
so she was no Phoenix. Wait.
Phoenix, yes. So it's not a house. That was what was kind of confusing. It's like the dragons, they are obviously all dragons and they like, I don't want to say worship, but they're like kind of worship dragons. Like that's their
Mhm.
thing is dragons. But they like are under the not rule, but like the phoenix is like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
almost
That's
like
what
a
it is.
god or goddess to them above that. And they're like, there
Right.
hasn't been a phoenix for the last one died 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And it didn't rise because if you don't know, phoenixes are birds that burst into flames when they die and then they rise from the ashes
Yeah.
anew. So that like is always a cycle of the bird. But they so for hundreds of years there was a phoenix and then it would die and then a new one would rise from the ashes. But 100 years ago, the last one died and another one hasn't appeared and no one knows why.
Yeah. And the last Phoenix was from House Cockatrice. And basically like the story goes that she fell or was pushed off of a high wall and turned into flame on the way down. I forget. And basically she turned into like burst into flame and turned into a phoenix. And so they kind of learn that while they're there. And then Caspian makes some weird comment about how Darling would totally do the same thing if he pushed her off of a roof or basic or something to that effect. And I was like, that's comforting. That's nice. Um, they go upstairs, and so it leaves Talon and Darling alone, like downstairs in the chapel, and she's doing something crazy, like balancing on some wall or something, and he's freaking out because he's like, "Wait, I think I love her," and then she gets down or whatever, and then they get down. I'm just kidding. Then they, then they make
The
out,
kiss.
and it is very, very cute. It's a very sweet kiss. I'll rate it 10 out of 10. Five pinkies up for that kiss. It was a good one. So it is very sweet. And then Caspian comes back down and the others come back downstairs and they're like, oh, hello. And Caspian's quite pleased, but also haunted because that's his thing, is to be pleased and haunted. They go back and have dinner. Caspian's kind of being a brat. He's kind of been a brat most of this time. She goes back to the chapel and like late at night, and Caspian's there, and Caspian convinces her to let him basically throw her up. Also, okay, I had problems with this too. He was like, that maneuver that the Kraken, naval people do. And I was like, how do you know it, Caspian? And she was like, it's a thing you wouldn't do without a lot of practice. But then on the first try, without a lot of practice, they just correctly do it. Like, I'm very confused by it. So, anyways, he puts his hands together and she uses them as a launching pad to jump up, which is apparently something that the Kraken naval, soldiers do or whatever. And I was like, okay, I don't buy it, but it's fine, whatever. I understand that they're trying to get her to the ceiling to pry off this, the eye of the
But
cockatrice, the gem.
mhm.
So they get that. And then that's really the last notable thing at House Cockatrice. And then they move on to House Burger King. I'm sorry, Burgist. And it's like easily like the grossest of all of the little like areas. Like they have indentured servants, including children. It's just like this big stone fortress.
Is it? No, because before they get there, when they're still at Cockatrice, that's when Gavin comes back, isn't it? So
Yes. Or is that at
Darlings.
Burgist? Where is
No,
that?
I think it's before they go there.
Oh,
Because
okay.
that's why her and Cassius are in the chapel by themselves, I think. He leaves like
Oh, yes.
because so Gavin sneaks into Cassius's room to try
Caspian.
and Caspian and to try and assassinate him. And Talon happens to be in there, bringing Caspian in there because Caspian's being having a
A
moment.
meltdown.
And yeah, and Talon's there, and his boon lets him sense that there's someone else in the room.
Hmm.
And so he knows that Gavin, even though he's invisible, is there, and he knows that he's about to like slit Caspian's throat. So he saves him essentially, and then they start fighting, and then he chases Gavin out and tells Caspian to like stay there and be safe. And then Caspian leaves and goes to the chapel, and that's where he finds Darling and tells her to get the gems. But all this Talon chases down Gavin, who was trying to assassinate Caspian
Hmm.
because Darling wouldn't do it. And he has this huge
Hmm.
grudge because Gavin actually used to be House Dragon,
Hmm.
but Talon and Caspian's dad killed him. Um, and or killed his father, so he has like this huge revenge thing. Like he
Yeah.
wants House Dragon to die because his father was killed by them. But then Talon ends up killing him in the end, but like right before he kills him, he like recognizes him. He's like, Gavin, like he knows who he is because they grew up
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
He kills him anyway because
That's so
he was
sad.
trying to kill his brother.
Yeah.
Um, so now everyone's like, well, there's an assassination plot afoot.
Yeah.
And
And they're like,
then
well, he was House Kraken and so was Darling, so she must be in on it. And then they're like, we found the poison lipstick or whatever. I think that might happen a little bit later, but still the same thing where like, what is it? Talon's talking to her. He's like, hey, I'm sorry I killed your buddy, basically. And she's like, yeah, I'm pretty sad about it. And he's like, but I know you had nothing to do with that plot. And she's like, yeah, I did, and I'm glad that you agree. And I was like, oh, that's nice that we just moved past that. It was just going to be a really annoying misunderstanding.
And
Yeah.
Caspian's like, I don't care. I just like someone tried to assassinate me. We need to get to House Vargas immediately. For some reason, he's like rushing them along. He's like, and like
Yeah.
the one of the carriages wheel breaks on the way there, and he's like, it doesn't matter, keep going, like leave it behind, just
Yeah.
move everyone and everything to another carriage, keep going. Like he has to get there. He's like, we have to be there now.
Yep. It's so interesting. He's getting like progressively more unhinged. And it also was this thing where like Caspian's been kind of a dick more and more progressively because he's like panicked and trying to get them somewhere. And only he knows what's going on. And so he's like, here, you're just gonna come ride with me because it's Darlene's carriage that breaks the wheel or whatever. And she's like, I will absolutely not. You're being an asshat and I'm not about it. I don't want to hang out with you. And so Talon's like, you can ride on my war drake with me. And even though she previously had been like, absolutely not, that's a man-eating monster. I'm not doing that. She was like, okay. And then I was like, oh no, there's only one war drake. So happy.
that's that's the new only one bed. There's only
Only
one
one
more
war
trick.
drake. Yeah,
It's
it's
a
a
new
good one.
trope.
I like it so much. I'm so down for that trope. And so they got to ride together, and my entire life, and I don't know why, I've just been like, that is the most romantic thing ever to like share a saddle. And I have no idea why, because the reality is not very comfortable. Like, I don't know why. I'm just like, that's romantic. I love it.
Secret
So
horse girl.
secret, I think I am.
Whiskey's a secret horse girl.
Yeah. Yep. So they get to House Burgess. I don't know if it's a hard G or a soft G. GIF, who cares? So they're there, and the leader of House Burgess has just died, correct?
Yes.
Yes. And so they're having like a
The
funeral for him.
Krakens killed
Right.
them.
I didn't even pay attention. I was just like getting through the book at that point. I was like, oh, so he's dead. Moving on. So his daughter had been the one who, when she would go to like council meetings at House Dragon, has been trying to seduce Caspian, which is funny because Caspian has not been remotely interested. He's been sort of maybe interested, maybe in
He
love if
has
he
a
would have let himself fall in love with what's their name?
Elias. He has a doctor
Ah, yes, he's got a
named
doctor named
Elias who's just
Elias.
their physician.
Fidgy shouldn't.
It
Yeah.
is his physician. Who has been with him for 2 years.
hmm
Who is
And like,
also um the queer character in the book there, kind of because they don't go by any gender. They go by
yeah,
they.
yeah. And
Um
what they're from a specific house that they were
they're from
saying,
House Griffin because
House
they're
Griffin.
cousins with Vivian.
Oh,
The
Vivian, that's her name. That's
mhm.
right. Yeah. Yeah. So
um
Caspian does imply that if he would have let himself fall in love, he might have fallen in love with Elias. So, and it's very, very clear that Elias is in love with him. So,
mhm.
but anyway, so that's also kind of happening tragically in the background. And Talon might walk in on them at some point, and which is deeply scarring. I was like, oh no, not your older brother. Blah. Gross. Ew. Oh God. But anyway, so that was kind of funny. So where was I going with that?
They have the funeral for the Burgess
For the
Scion
for the
Lord.
Burger King, if you will.
Yeah. For
For
the
the
Burger
King.
King. And then his daughter who's been trying to seduce
Right. Caspian.
Caspian.
Caspian
Caspian.
unsuccessfully.
Unsuccessfully
Cassius.
because he's mad.
Yeah.
Um, but I love that. Like, he's the whole time, Caspian's like this character that I'm like, is he a villain or is he not? Like, I mean, that's how you're supposed to feel the whole time. And I love him
Yeah.
for it. Like, I
I do
love the
too.
absolute madness of like he could be an absolutely genius great person or it could be just
Mm-hmm.
an absolute genius
Yeah.
villain because he's
He's like,
just absolutely mad, but you're
yeah.
not sure which way.
Yeah. Like, is he the problem or the solution? He is
Right.
one or the other. It's very much Murdoch from the A Team, who I have always been deeply in love with. So I did have to be like, remember, Caspian would not be interested in you, Ash. And I'm like, but I'm very attracted to his personality and the absolute chaos in him. But
Can
yeah,
I just say another really random thing? But since we
yes.
talked about Caspian's hair being Caspian from
Narnia or
Chronicles
whatever.
of Narnia.
Yeah.
Um, I was astonished that they described Talon's hair as like really short cropped shaved essentially on the sides and like a little bit longer on top because I, as not a long hair girly, almost all fantasy novels are like his long wavy hair and I was like, in my mind, I'm like, nope, cut that. We're just gonna like we're gonna get a little bit
That's
shorter, a little
hilarious.
bit nicer. So this is one of the first fantasy novels that I can remember that they were like, oh, it's short, like cropped
You
with
didn't
just like
have
the
to like
little bit on the
mentally
hair.
edit.
Yeah, I was like, oh, perfect. Like that's how it should be.
That's hilarious.
'Cause
I want like the like season 2 The Office gym hair. Like they didn't do anything. It's a little bit messy, could probably use a trim. They clearly don't know what to do with it. Like that's I'm there for that. Like it's not too short, it's not too long. I did laugh a little bit when to bring birds back into it when they described Talon's hair because I know exactly the haircut and it's actually very handsome and I've grown to like that haircut a lot more. But when like boys first started cutting their hair like that, I was probably like I don't know, like 14 or something. And I called it the rooster haircut because they would get it short on the sides and long on the top like a rooster. And so I don't know why I always called it the rooster haircut. I never really had anything against it. I was just like, every single one of you is doing the exact same haircut. What is happening? And it's the rooster haircut. And that's what Talon has. I was like, ah, right, the rooster when they were describing it.
That's so perfect.
Yeah. So anyways, them boys, them silly house dragon boys. So yeah, what's her name is trying to make Caspian fall in love with her unsuccessfully, who should be the next regent, so leader of House Burger, the next Burger King, is her little brother, I think, who's like
Yeah,
quite young. Quite
he's
young.
11,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, but so that's like their tradition is they're just like, all right, I guess whatever. We're just gonna have the advisors rule through him, you know, as monarch. I can't say that word. Monarchies do. Wow, that was hard. Um,
So, Darling goes to see Caspian and is like, hey, can you release Leonetti now? Because we find out that that's where they're keeping him currently. And this whole time, like, that was her whole goal, was to release him because he's a father to her. So she's like, he needs to be released. That's why I'm doing all of this. And Caspian's like, as soon as you become named scion of the house of whatever, what is she?
sign of the House of Sphinx.
Sphinx. Yeah, that's it. Then, then
I'm
I'll
like
release
Phoenix.
him.
Phoenix. No,
Yeah, I know. I was like, it's not
it's
Phoenix.
Sphinx.
Sphinx. So he's like, then I'll release him. And she's like, oh, whatever. And as she goes to leave, he's like going to take a bath. He just takes his clothes off. And she's like, all right, I guess that's my cue to leave. I told you, madness. I love it. He's just like, whatever. I don't care.
Yep. So good.
And he turns around and he's like, beware of the dragon with the emerald eyes or something like that.
Yes.
And she's like, I don't know what that is, but she leaves because he's naked. And then immediately she wants to go on a walk and she goes to some of the gardens, like, I'm going to the garden. And they're like, no, that's where the funeral preparations are. You can't go in the garden. But if you want to walk up on I don't remember what it's called, but essentially
Ramparts or
yeah.
whatever.
You can go for a walk there. It's a good place to clear your head. So she goes up there, and then there is Talon, and Caspian's aunt is up there, who she does not trust, and who is wearing this scarf of a dragon with like the green emeralds on it. And she's like,
Which is
aha,
very pretty, by the way. I was like, I want it. I know that this is probably a villain wearing it, but I want it for myself, please.
She's like, aha, he just said beware of this, the dragon with the emerald eyes, and there they are right in front of me.
I was also like immediately flashing back to like they're up high on these ramparts. The aunt like dismisses all the ladies who are walking with her, so it's just them. And I'm like, so the other person who first turned into a phoenix was pushed off of a high thing and burned on the way down. And I was like, is this where we're seeing this? Is this intentional? Because I'm scared. I guess it's a wee bit of foreshadowing, but just a wee bit. Ooh, I shook my whole desk. Oh no, I made my camera move.
It's like you got shorter.
Oh God. I'm still here.
And now
my
she's
camera just doesn't
gone.
want me. I have an invisibility boon. No, I have a chaos boon. All right.
Hold on, if we're like kind of pausing for a second.
Yeah.
I have to plug this in.
Oh, story of my life.
I'll be right back.
Do you guys want to see my notes? I don't want to edit this video, so I'm going to entertain you. Look at my notes, you guys. You can't. Oh, you can't. I'm trying to show you. Am I trying to show you, or can everyone just not read? Just kidding. See? These are all the times that I've messed up. This is actually quite a short list. It's usually pages. I think our first episode had like 5 or 6 pages. I don't know if that's interesting to anybody. Oh, look at that. This is a big stain from my tears. Just kidding. Or maybe not. I don't remember what this episode was from.
Enjoying this.
Welcome back.
Okay. Where were we?
We were at she did not get pushed off the ramparts by the ant, even
That is
though
true.
I expected that to happen. So things happen relatively without conflict or concern up to the point that they are about to basically it's like the ceremony or whatever. They're about to name the new like they're gonna name her this new scion of House Sphinx. And the Phoenix and Phoenix thing are like really mixing me up as they did in the book. I guess that's another little critique I have because I'm like very confused about the Phoenix Sphinx relationship. Also, they both have X's. Like, how many words have X's in them? This is unnecessary.
I agree. It was confusing.
Yeah. So they're about to like name her like the scion of House Sphinx, and they're also going to name the new scion of House Burgist, the 11-year-old. Although all of a sudden they're like, nope, we're gonna pull a switcheroo, and instead we want this old dude who I don't remember his significance whatsoever, but one of this older dudes from House Burgess, like they're like, we want to make him scion instead because this other one, he's just 11 years
Hey,
old.
babes.
Yes, babes. Oh no. Can she hear me? Oh no. I'm debating if I should just keep talking.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, it stopped
Nodding.
working for a while.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sweet. Okay. Um,
Can you?
so
Okay.
yeah, I can hear you. I was just gonna say, so while they're crowning the new scions,
Okay.
basically. Are you good?
Yes.
Oh, there's a long delay, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. Um,
Okay.
but the Kraken's attack. So the Kraken's attacking. Sorry. So see, now I'll never know if her delayed laughter is because I wasn't that funny or if because there was a delay. So I'm just gonna be nice to myself and be like, oh, the delay, she didn't laugh. I'm gonna assume it's the same for you guys out there. You guys just have a delay. So the Kraken attacking, and there's like booms and cannons are going off, and basically what happened is the Burgist attacked the Kraken to incite them to attack again, and they interrupt the whole ceremony or whatever, and everything's in chaos. Caspian runs off to do who knows what. It's Caspian. Um, what is it? Oh yes, Leonetti is there at the ceremony, and basically he's supposed to be freed, like as soon as the ceremony's over. And Darlene's like, "Awesome! This is literally all I wanted this whole time." Like Team Kraken for the win. And then, who is it? The new leader of House Burgist. Sorry, that time was actually unintentional. Um, I'm really messing myself up. The new leader of House Burgess is like, no, we actually don't want to let him go. And Darlene's like, you said that you would. And then they make some case for it. And Talon, I forget what case they make, but Talon's like, actually, that makes a lot of sense. And so she's like, Talon, dude, back me up here. Oh, they've also have slept together at this point. I totally forgot about that. Well, not exactly slept, but like they've been intimate at this point. Um, and it was pretty cute and sweet, and it was not too graphic. And if anyone is like, oh, is this book appropriate for teens? Debatable. It depends on where you sit with that. But it was not graphic, and I appreciated that because I don't want to know what other people do in the shadows. Um, so that was cute. So they're like deeply in love. Oh yes. And the dragon seer, quote unquote, the aunt has said that she's had a vision that Darlene is going to be on the throne for House Dragon. And so then what's her name? The Burgist chick who's in love with Caspian, not even in love, just wants to be queen or whatever, wants to marry him. Is like, no, she can't be on the throne. I want to marry Caspian. And Helen's like, nobody's marrying Caspian. So that's not going to be a problem. But then Talon's like, wait a minute, I thought I couldn't be with Darlene, but maybe my aunt is seeing this prophecy because she and I get married. And so he's been head over heels for her this whole time, but openly so, like the last like few chapters, as has she for him. So he's like asked her to marry him and she's basically said, yeah, hell yeah. And so they're like basically engaged and it's adorable and we're all rooting for them. But then he like is sides with the people who don't want to release Leonetti. And then the Kraken attacking and she's runs after Caspian. And Talon's like trying to just deal with all the stuff for, you know, House Dragon and everything because Caspian has disappeared. So basically, just this is full chaos at this point. Um, Darling like finds Caspian up on the ramparts, and while she's up there, he's like, "I need you to go get the Talon knife thing," and this is the time where um Finn, while she's gone, Finn goes to Talon and is like, "Where is she?" And he's like, "I don't know. She ran away." And he's like, "She's gonna kill your brother." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "I found this jar or this container of poisoned lipstick." And no one asks, "How do you know that it's poison?" They just accept it. And I'm confused by that, but that's fine. So he's not like, "Show your sources." He's like, "Okay." Um,
Yeah,
but she wouldn't do that, surely.
and right before that, it's when Talon walks in on his aunt, like,
Yes. Doing blood magic, which is very rarely referenced in this book. But blood magic is this gross, disgusting, dark magic where they cut someone open and rip out their guts while they're still alive, and they do gross, dark magic with it. And it's not an actual boon, it's not chaos magic, it's like a total bastardization of the Force, quote unquote, in this universe. And it's evil, and she's evil. And so then Talon has to be like, "Oh no, Darlene was right all along." And he has to ask his guys to come and arrest his aunt. Um, so that's happening, but he's also trying to get to Caspian before Darling can kiss him with her
so
poison lipstick.
because like his aunt's prediction from doing the blood magic is she sees them kiss and then they both die. So
Yes.
then his right hand man comes in and is like, "There's this lipstick, and if she kisses him, he dies." So he's like,
Yes.
"Well, that's two things that
Bless
say
you.
this."
Yeah, the order is very important and I totally messed it up. So bless you, Gino. Yeah, exactly. He hears the prophecy first and he's like, "That's not gonna happen." And then Finn is like, "Poison lipstick." And he's like, "Oh no." And so he's off to go find them. He does see them from a distance, but all he sees is Darlene frozen. So then from Darlene's perspective, and if we haven't been clear enough about this, this book is multiple POV. So one chapter from Darlene's perspective, one chapter from Talon's perspective. So then Darlene's perspective is basically all of a sudden with all of the items that um that Caspian has stolen from the different houses, he starts doing this magic. And then he pulls out this still beating heart that he's been hanging on to that supposedly belongs to the last Phoenix. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Which I guess would explain why it was never reborn, because the heart is still beating, so it never
That's
fully died.
exactly, yeah.
Interesting. See, I just now making connections. I've thought extremely little about this. I cannot stress how little I've thought about this before right now. And so he does some magic. I guess technically blood magic. It's not nearly as like dark and creepy. And I'm like, how did you get that beating heart? There's a lot of
I mean,
questions we don't have answered.
he does like eat someone else's
Oh,
heart.
that's
So it
right.
is a little bit dark and
That's
creepy.
right. I totally forgot. He takes a bite out of it like an apple. Blah, and then he kisses Darling. And then, which is so that's basically what they see from Talon's perspective. But he sees his brother kiss Darling. So I was like, I'm relieved. Let's all remember Darling did not do the kissing. Caspian kissed her. Okay. And so as soon as he kisses her, she's frozen, like immobilized, either by the magic or by like poison. And she can't move. And she's got, oh, I forgot to mention, because also it felt really, really random. And I really didn't think it needed to be included. She has a healing boon where she just
Oh yeah.
heals. I felt like that really didn't need to be included at all. I would have actually really liked for her to not have a boon. I think that would have been more significant. But it just didn't really feel like it added a lot. But whatever. So her healing boon is trying to like work off the poison. And so she can like she feels like she can just start to move just a little bit. And Caspian's talking to her this whole time and starting to make a little bit more sense, but in a really sad way. And then so Talon sees them. He's like, "Darling, Caspian." And then all of a sudden, she is engulfed in flames. Like a pillar of flame explodes, totally engulfing Darling and Caspian. And then all of a sudden, like when the flame dies out, Caspian and Darling are gone. But flying off into the sky is a phoenix and a dragon, and they're doing this romantic twirly dance. And they're off. They just fly off into the distance. Imperials that shouldn't exist anymore, hypothetically, and that's the book.
And then, oh, one more thing. And
Oh,
then like Talon looks out the window, seeing them fly away, and he looks down and he sees where all the ships and the navy and everything are. He
oh
sees
yes,
that the ships are all broken into pieces, and then he sees like a long
giant
tentacle come out
tentacles.
and like pull them down. So obviously the Kraken is also reborn, and he's
Yes,
like, our world has changed.
the
The
world
end.
has changed. The Imperials have all been reborn. This is mind blowing. And then that's the end of the book. So I do want to read the next book because I really want to know like what is happening with these like there's a kraken out here now. There's a phoenix and a dragon, and I am miming all of these.
Like a penis.
A phoenix and a dragon. You guys want to see me mime this? You can watch it on YouTube. Otherwise, use your imagination. The more ridiculous, the more accurate, probably. So that's the book. I have so many feelings about it. Um, I guess when in the tradition of TPBC, what was your favorite and least favorite part?
Um, I think my favorite part is Caspian walking out in like a robe and no socks and
No
like,
socks,
hey, how's
no
it
shoes,
going?
no war.
Like, I just love it because he's supposed to be this like high regal prince emperor essentially of all of the
Mm-hmm.
land, and he's just like insane. I love it.
I do love that. Um, my favorite part was probably I really liked when they burst into flames and turned into the Imperials, and then all of a sudden, like it like pans over and the Kraken, and I was like, "What? That's amazing!" Not that I didn't love all the book leading up to that, but I was very excited. So that actually might be my favorite part. What about your least favorite part?
My least favorite part might be Gavin when like he came to talk to her in the carriage. He was just really annoying.
Yeah, he's
Like
kind of a
he was
brat.
like, yeah, he was like, since you're not gonna do anything about killing them, and she's like, but the war is over, and like, is there peace out there? And he's like, yeah, there's peace. No one's killing anyone, but like, we're
He's
still
like, I
gonna
miss
kill
it.
them.
He's like, I really want
She's
to
like,
kill some
but
of
won't
them.
that like cause war again? And he's like,
Yep.
oh, but I really hate them.
He's like, I just
So
really want to kill them. Come on, let me kill them, please.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. That's fair. I think my least favorite part, like, not to be overly critical of the book, because I did really like it, and I might even read it again. But like, there just felt like there's a few like plot devices that didn't really have much purpose, except for like maybe once, like the lipstick thing, the healing boon, the tracking boon. Like these were all only significant one time, really. And so I'm like,
Mhm.
I just felt it would have been like a little tighter without those. But like craft wise, I guess those are like if I'm gonna nitpick craft wise, that's how I feel about those. But like story wise, least favorite would be I think when he was really mean to the house cockatrice people, when Caspian was just being total brat to them, and they were just like doing their best. It's just this guy and his wife, and they're like, "We made you dinner," and Caspian's like, "Oh God, you want me to eat here?" And I'm like, "You spoiled brat. You sit down, Caspian, and you say thank you. You just enjoy it. You sit there."
That really is true. That's his entire personality.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. What about favorite and least favorite characters?
Um, hmm. Again, I would say that Caspian is my favorite character.
Uh-huh.
Mostly just because it's so, is he a villain? Is he not a villain? And
He's
I
so
love,
interesting.
yeah, I love that. And I love See, because if he was a villain, he would be a horrible villain and like in a good way. Like not
Yeah.
like oh that's a horrible villain, but like absolutely cruel, just like just horrible. Like he
So
would
successful because he's so unpredictable.
yes.
Yeah,
And those are my favorite villains
I agree.
because I don't like boring like oh, I'm a villain because like I was wronged as a child, so now like I'm gonna wrong you back. I'm like, you're that's boring. Like, come up with something better. Be
You don't
absolutely
want them to
insane. Like,
you don't
just
want them to have a good reason.
murder people because you woke up and it's Tuesday. Like, that's the kind of villain I like.
Why do I
Um,
feel like you want to channel you want it to be a villain this way because you want something to like channel like if you were a villain you want to like channel your darkness into a character. You're like it's Tuesday, someone's gonna die.
exactly. So that's why I like Caspian.
That's
And
hilarious.
then my least favorite character. No, you do your favorite, and they'll come back to
Oh,
me.
okay. See now I have to think about it then. Okay, just like off the cuff, immediate and I'm actually very much surprising myself with this because I should say Caspian. Everything about me and the history of who I am as a person and the people that I love should be Caspian. I think Darlene might be my favorite, and that's very confusing because I actually didn't really like her that much at first because I felt like I was like, is this another like trying too hard to be tough and not like pretty dresses girl? Like I don't know why. I was just like, why? I don't want her to feel like every other like YA heroine, which they can all feel somewhat similar. And I don't know. I weirdly like her. It's hard to place why. I really liked her relationship with Talon. I really liked that she like was able to learn and see value in all of these different houses and the different ways that they operate. Um, she never compromised who she was, but she still grew a lot and like learned a lot. She was very open-minded, but not so open-minded that her brain fell out, to use that favorite like little phrase. Like she still learned a lot about other people. And she was like very kind. She had her morals and her values, and she was like, just be nice to everyone. And she was like, you're not gonna be nice to everyone, then I'm gonna make you. And I was like, ooh, I like that. I really like that. So I don't know. I thought her origin was really interesting. I weirdly think that Darling might be my favorite, which is just for someone who's been in love with Howling Mad Murdoch for so long. It's very confusing. Yeah. What about your least favorite?
My least favorite, I want to say, I want to say the ant, even though I don't really want to say the ant because it's cliche to like say the bad
Hmm.
guy, but I was like, I don't know. I feel like there could have been more to her, but then there just wasn't. She was just
Yeah,
like, I'm secretly
secretly evil.
Two-Faced. Like, that's it.
It was like, why? Yeah.
Yeah.
I really would like to know more of her motivation, maybe in the second book. I kind of agree. I didn't feel like there was enough substance to her for her to be my least favorite. Like we just didn't get to know enough about her. Um, my knee-jerk reaction was to say Leonetti, which is not fair. We know nothing about him whatsoever. But I was like, this guy, he's just getting in the way of everything, which is definitely not fair. Um, I guess Gavin would have to be my least favorite.
That
I
was
think
my other
well
thought.
done. He has enough substance for me to know why I don't like him. Like, I don't like him because he thinks that bloodshed is the answer and that he's willing to restart a war for a personal vendetta. That's insane. But it's not that insane because some humans are that insane.
Oh,
So,
for sure.
yeah. So I dislike him and I know why. So I guess I'll have to say him versus Leonetti, who I don't like for any reason at all. Yeah. Um, do you have a favorite quote?
And you.
Him.
My favorite quote. Um, it's when Talon and Darling are kind of talking. It's towards the beginning. Um, when actually it is right in the beginning, like when they're fighting for the first time, their first meeting, and she comes and like kills everyone else, and then he's able to see her because it's Boone, and it's like fighting her in the dark. But he says, tell me your name. I try again. I'd like to know who wants to kill me because he still doesn't know her name. And she says, it's a long list. And then he says, it's good to have enemies. That's how you know you're living your best life. And I like that quote.
That's really, really good.
Like, it's good to have enemies. It's how you
That
know
could be
you're
on a
living your best
t-shirt.
life.
That's really like a t-shirt level quote. I really like that. That's really good. That's funny. Mine is like a little bit more shallow, which I was like describing, like very vaguely describing this quote, trying to find it right before we recorded. And Marissa's like, oh, I got it. It's on page 98. And I was like, what? Because I just vaguely described it. I was like, yeah, that's the one. So I'm going to read it to you all. So this is when it's the it's the ball when Caspian introduces her basically to the court, and it's all fancy, and this is where he embarrasses her dancing after this, and then Talon saves her, and it's adorable. But basically they've lowered the lights so that she can see and she doesn't have to wear her goggles. And so nothing's covering her eyes, and she's wearing this really cool dress that's like in the style of House Sphinx. And for some reason, I view it like, it's sort of like Cleopatra style dress that's like got like the what do you call it in front? I forget. I have a very like specific picture in my head of what this looks like. But just think like if Cleopatra would wear it, you're probably not too far off. And I do mean like in like illustrations and cartoons. I don't know what historically Cleopatra actually wore, but like in a cartoon or in like illustration, then that's what I'm picturing her in. So she enters. She's not wearing her goggles for one of the few times in the book. It says, nothing covers Darling's eyes. They are wide open and glittering dark brown, but filmed over with something, an illusion, a chaos scar, of eerie, lustrous blue and purple green, a rainbow of shifting hues, and staring directly at me. So good. So good. I love it. I love it so much. But I did also, as I was reading this, think about your duck who's blind. Because
No.
I thought that you were talking about like the film over them. And until you said that, I had not made a connection. And I'm like, your duck has a chaos boon. Your duck has been blessed.
Her name is Gookie because she was like a little duckling and she got my daughters are like, she has her eye. What's wrong with that? I was like, oh, it's all gooky. And they thought it was so funny that I used the word gooky. And they're
Oh,
like, that's her name now. So her name is Gookie.
oh, poor Gookie. But that's so cute. Gookie. Gookie the duck. That's a shame she's not a goose. Gookie the goose would be like really like the alliteration's good. Gookie the one-eyed duck.
Yeah.
It's like a really sad children's book. That's fun. Let's see. What did we learn from this book? Did we learn anything?
Um, what did we learn?
I know, right? I'm like, probably something, right?
We learned that it's very confused. Sphinxes and phoenixes are very confusing together.
They should not be discussed in the same page. I can't keep them straight, and I don't care if it's a problem with my IQ. I'm still going to demand that we just not do that because I'm very confused. I
As
learned
mythical creatures go, choose one or the other, please.
one or the other. No, like mythical creatures with an X in the name. Not on the
Yeah.
same page. That's too much. I'm confused. I'm gonna be like, and the mythical xylophone. There's too many X's. Stop it. So I learned that there's something called a burgist, which is
Yes.
like a mythical dog. I don't know. I need to do more research, but I'm very interested to know the origin of burgist. Burgist? GIF, GIF. I don't know. But I want to learn more. It's more like, oh, I made a mental note to learn and I didn't. But I will. I want to know. Did I learn anything else from this? Never trust the ant. I'm just kidding. Bobby has a great aunt.
It's it's always the aunt or uncle though. I mean, like
It
Lion
really
King,
is.
this
I know.
book, like that's
Hamlet.
all you need to
Yeah.
know. Always the aunt or uncle.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't ever trust uncles, guys. Um, no, but there was what was I gonna say? Um, oh yeah. Just because you don't see the logic, don't assume that there's no logic there. Caspian has very logical reasons for doing all the stuff that appears completely illogical. And this is something I've been saying for a really long time, especially when it comes to like religious divides, political divides. Like, I don't care what you think. Like, not like I don't care what you think, but I mean, like, I assume that we are all using our own brain, morals, heart, logic to reach the conclusions that we're reaching. And if we can assume that people we disagree with are also using logic to get there, then we can actually have a discussion where like we respect each other. But if you just go, oh my God, they're just evil or they're just stupid, like you're immediately saying that they have no valid logic to their thinking. That's dumb as hell. That's so stupid. But I mean, it's easy to do because you look at Caspian and you're like, everything you have done and said makes absolutely no sense. You're just
Absolutely
crazy.
insane.
But he has a reason. There's logic there. He's got a reason for thinking it. And at the end, you kind of like start to see some of the logic for it. But there's even more, I think, in book 2, hopefully, that we would see, like, and this is why he wanted to bring back the Imperials. So, anyways, I think that's fun. I like seeing that happen because it annoys me when someone's like, well, that person's just stupid. I'm like, you literally don't even know why they think what they think. Why would you
Do you
say
think they're do you think they're gone forever, Caspian and Darling? Like they're just a dragon and a phoenix now, or do you think they're gonna come back to like human forms?
I think they're going to come back to human forms. I think Darling's going to come back to being human, but she can still turn back. And I think that Caspian wants to live primarily as a dragon, but he might
I
turn back if for like a final goodbye.
I fully see him being like, nah, I'd rather be a dragon.
I'd
Bye.
rather be a dragon. Peace. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing for sure. Yeah, I think that's what I learned. Oh, how many? I know you guys have all been drum roll waiting for this for the year that we've been gone. How many pinkies up would you give this book?
I don't know. You have to go first.
Okay. My typical rule is that I wouldn't read it again unless it's like 4 pinkies up. But I don't know if I want to give this book a whole 4 pinkies up because I had some problems with the craft. I'm going to give it 3.85 pinkies up. That's right. Because not only can you have 5 pinkies, you can also have fractions of pinkies. I'm going to give it 3.85, which is actually quite high for me. It means I'm likely to read it again.
I think I will give it, since we're going with points, 3.2 pinkies up. Because I
Wow.
see this as like 3 is good. It's like 3 is I didn't really have problems with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then above that would be like I really liked it for reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked it. I enjoyed it. It didn't feel like death to read, which some books sometimes do.
What a relief.
So I was like, I like it. But
You should write blurbs for books, you know, like on the back cover.
it
Didn't
didn't
feel
feel
like
like
death
death
to
to
read.
read. Um,
Oh my God.
but like as far as would I be like, oh my gosh, you have to read this book, recommend it to anyone? I don't think so. I'd be like, it's a good like YA read if you
Yeah.
wanna good YA read. That's what I
Yeah.
have to say about it.
Nice. I like it. Makes sense. Sweet. Okay. Well, that concludes our episode on Chaos and Flame, the inaugural returning episode of That Pretentious Book Club with your new beautiful host, Gino,
It
aka
was
Myrissa
only
Yokie,
6 hours
but
long.
yeah, it's only 6 hours, you guys. So there's only like an hour and 47 minutes before editing, so that's actually not bad at all for us. You're welcome. Just listen to us while you're driving somewhere. We all know traffic sucks. Just reserve this for that time, but not on YouTube because we don't want you to crash. That's for when you get home and you're like, I just haven't seen enough beauty in my day. Some people like to get flowers, put it on a vase on the table. Just turn this on, look at us on YouTube, and just there you go. Enough beauty. There you go.
Ta-da.
Um, I don't think that I have any other updates for you guys. Usually, this is where I'd say next episode we're going to talk about this other book, but because of the sporadic nature of these recordings, I do not know for sure what book we'll do next or when it will be. I will try to make it not a really long gap of time. I would love to shoot for like every 2 weeks. I cannot guarantee it. So that's what I'm hoping for. We'll see if that happens. However, in the meantime, we are available to you on Instagram and on TikTok. And you guys can email us at contact@storysirenstudio.com. If you guys don't already follow us on Instagram, That Pretentious Book Club, we sometimes do giveaways on there. I'm going to start reposting book stuff on there again. So there's like memes on there. If you guys don't follow us if you like books because it's kind of a fun place to be. And I'm going to actually try and get started with that again. We might have some new merch coming out soon. Like I said, check out the website. I updated the website. So now it is not so horrible. It doesn't make you want to die. So I think that that's everything I've got. Leave us a rating below. Be nice. If you're like, why did these girls talk so much about not books? That is what the podcast is. However, feel free to describe that in your review if you want. I know that's the only thing that we've ever gotten critique for. And I'm okay with that. Thank y'all for your honesty. But also, if you guys want to chat about books, message us on Instagram or email us because I would love to chat with you guys. I'm sure that Gino would too. And I think I still have to give her all the logins, but I will. And also, I'll pass things on to her. So help us welcome Gino to the pod. Comment on things. Let us know what you're reading. Let us know what you thought of this book and if we're completely insane. And as insane as Caspian, I don't know. But I think
I
that
can only
that's
dream to achieve.
only dream. But I think that that's everything we've got. Is there anything else that you want to say to the listeners?
No, I don't want to talk to them at all. So
All right, cool.
just...
So she doesn't want to talk to you guys. Oh God. But wow, this is gotta shake off the dust. Haven't done this in a hot minute. Until the next episode, you guys, keep your teacups full.
And your pinkies up.
Hi.
Pretentious. I don't remember. It's
And
been
your
a
book
while.
club pretentious.
And your...
You're good. Bye, everyone.
Bye.